a lot of things on my plate, and they're either things I didn't love and I just put them on there because I thought I should. When I looked at the list, there's no way I could humanly complete all these things and tasks and wants. It forced me to pare down and really get in a space where I could be okay with that. That paring down was amazing. And I got so much more done this summer.
ADHD Rewired, episode 93. This is the show designed to help those of us who have really good intentions and a slightly wandering attention. My name is Eric Tivers. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, coach, and consultant. We know that starting can be the hardest part, so let's get started. But first, let me thank our sponsors. Support for this podcast comes from Audible. For a free audiobook download, go to erictivers.com/audible for a link for that free download and for some hand-picked recommendations. Go to erictivers.com/audible for your free audiobook download. Give yourself the gift of ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. Start your 2016 off with a bang. Early registration is underway now. Go to coachingrewired.com to schedule your free 20-minute consultation with me. That's coachingrewired.com. Again, coachingrewired.com. And prepare to get your ADHD rewired. Hey there, ADHD Rewired listeners. It's December 8th, 2015. Before we get started with today's interview, I wanted to share a few things with you. The Totally ADD holiday party is Wednesday evening. It's at, 6, starts at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. I did not write this out ahead of time. I'm going to be joining them at 10:30 Eastern. It's the Totally ADD on fire, off color, and off topic holiday bash, Wednesday, December 9th. We're doing this on Blab. If you need more information, check my website or the Totally ADD Facebook page. You do need Blab to join the conversation. You'll also need Twitter if you want to join the conversation. Otherwise, you can just be what they call a lurker. So I hope to see you there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Also, I'm going to be doing some webinars of the presentation that I gave at the CHAD conference, the high-tech and low-tech solutions to supercharge your productivity. The first one I'm going to do, it looks like it's going to be Monday, December 21st at 1 p.m. Don't worry about remembering all of this. Just go to the show notes for this episode, go to my webpage, and you'll get all the details there. So watch Facebook and your email for that if you're on my email list. And so that's, I think, it for the main announcements. But I did want to say before we get started, first, I know we have a lot of new listeners, so I want to welcome all of you. It's really amazing to think that we are 7 episodes away from the 100th episode of this podcast. And in true ADHD form, I've had about 100 ideas of what I want to do for that 100th episode, but that's about as far as I've taken it. But really, I just want to take a moment to thank all of you. Whether you've been listening for a while or you're new to this podcast, I really just want you to know how much I truly appreciate all of you. And I'm not just saying that. Since starting this podcast about 21 months ago, this podcast has been downloaded over 250,000 times from 126 countries. Over 260 listeners have left reviews on iTunes, and thank you. And that's just in the US. 253 members have joined our private Facebook community. We have over 1,200 likes on the ADHD Rewired fan page, and we've graduated 4 ADHD Rewired coaching and accountability groups. and people are already signing up during early registration for the next session. When I look at these numbers, I can't help but just feel immense gratitude. So to all the listeners, community members, past and future guests, past and future coaching group members, all of you, thank you. Welcome back to another episode of ADHD Rewired. I am really happy to have in the virtual ADHD Rewired studios, Kate Barrett. I know Kate from, first met Kate through my coaching group. You were in the coaching group, I think over the summer. And then we had the opportunity to meet at the CHAD conference. I know that you and some other people won, what was it? The program of the year?
We were one of the innovative programs of the year. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Kate is a coach. She is almost an IFC certified coach. She's gone through the ATCA coach training, and she's a newly minted parent-to-parent trainer. So she's been doing ADHD for a while. She lives ADHD every day of her life as both a mom and as a person living with ADHD. So Kate, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
So I'm really excited to have you on. And a number of things that I want to be able to talk with you about and why I wanted to have you on. We were talking, as I do with all my guests, as we kind of brainstorm ideas of what we're going to talk about. And so we were talking just the other day, and you had said something that kind of I just like the sound of it, and that was when I asked you, "What do you really do?" And you said you like to help peel back the layers of crap. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, rather than trying to make it all sound pretty, that's really at the end of the day with a lot of the clients and parents that I work with and talk with. That's really what it is. There's a lot of crap that just kind of gets piled on. It could be negative experiences or emotions or feelings about yourself that you're not even realizing how much those beliefs or stories that you're telling yourself are actually impacting your everyday life. And if you can just, I've found that if you can just get somebody to kind of look at that for what it is, a lot of times they'll sit back and take notice of the stories you're telling yourself or the feelings and emotions that are underlying and impacting your everyday life. Then a lot of times that opens the door for change, new perspectives, or really just an understanding of yourself that has actually been pretty profound for some of the people I've worked with.
So let's maybe start there with some of the people that you've worked with, and then we'll get deeper into your story. What are some of the more common stories that you find that people tell themselves?
A lot of them are, I'm not smart enough. I'm not fast enough. There's a lot of enough, mm-hmm. or there are a lot of shoulds. I should be able to get this. I should be able to make an A in pre-calculus, or I should be able to listen to my teacher drone on and on and on for 90 minutes because, half my class can do it. I work with a lot of teens and their parents. And
you told me that you actually really like working with difficult teens.
I love teens. There is something fascinating and energetic about that age group. And you're already dealing with a lot of crap, if you will, from hormones and, trying to work out how the social structures pan out for, middle school, high school, trying to really figure out who you are anyway. So it's a big period of experimentation. I find teenagers are a little more open to hearing something that might be outside the box, maybe thinking about something in a different way, and hearing a story or realizing that the story they've told themselves all the time, maybe it might not be true, and getting them to think maybe in a different way just by asking a curious question,
Like what's an example of a question you might ask a teen you're starting to work with?
So a lot of teens will come in with those negative mindsets of, I'm not good enough or I suck at this or whatever. And my big, easy question is always, is that really true? And, sometimes the answer is absolutely, it's really true. And then a lot of them go, well, my mom says it's true, or my, teacher always tells me I'm slow, or whatever the negative energy might have come from, or something may have impacted them. So it's interesting just to kind of get, that age group, you're always going a million miles anyway. And then you add ADHD onto it and your brain's going everywhere. And just to kind of get a teen to pause and really think about whether or not something is really what it seems, or if it's as bad as they think it is, can be interesting. Or, the other thing would be, if you could tell your older, if your older self could come back and speak to you now, what would you tell yourself about a certain situation?
Well, let me ask you this, Kate. Let me take that and kind of turn it on you. So, if based on what you know now, if you can go back 15 years, what would you tell yourself?
That I need to breathe. I think, my husband and I were talking the other night, and he placed it perfectly in terms of my MO, which is you go, 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 go until you can't go anymore. And
I could so relate to that, Kate.
Yeah. And, every once in a while, just stopping to take a breath can clear the air. It can give you more energy to move on. It can, allow your brain some space to really process what's going on in your life at that moment. And, then you're not yelling at the dog, or you're not, exploding or retreating or whatever that, safe, but sometimes not so great option maybe that you choose in that moment. So I think for me, the biggest thing would be to breathe.
Yeah, it's as I've shared in the past on the show is, it's knowing and doing, as we know, that's part of the biggest challenge of ADHD. Is like we know it, but we don't do the things we know.
So true.
And it's like this has been the year of like the continual kind of reinforcement of less is more, less is more. And it's like I keep knowing it more and more. I feel I'm beginning to make that shift from my behavioral perspective. I'm saying no more often. And what I just love, to me, it's fun and exciting, is finding that the things that have been best for my own productivity and my clients' productivity is all the things that really boost the productivity have very little to do with being productive.
Oh, amen. That is exactly what I found this summer when I worked in the group. Was I have a lot of things on my plate, and some of them are not really things. They're either things I didn't love, and I just put them on there because I thought I should,
right?
Or it was impossible. When I looked at the list, there's no way I could humanly complete all these things and tasks and wants on my list. And it forced me to pare down and really get in a space where I could be okay with that paring down was amazing. And I got so much more done this summer.
It's that self-care. That it really boils down to that of self-care of body, self-care of mind, self-care of just like soul, just taking care of doing the things that are fulfilling for you. Play is so important. I'm trying to make more time for myself to even just play more music. Because it's like it's become more and more on the back burner, and it's just like I just don't want to, in this week's episode, or last week's episode, and I was talking to Alan Brown. He was talking about having the itch, that fear of having that positive and negative nag, and for me, it's like I don't want to have the fear of being like 80 years old and regretting like not doing something with my music. Like that terrifies me.
That is, I can so relate to that. So I started dancing when I was about 35, pretty late to the game, I know. And I just kind of did it on a whim. I was sick and tired of going to the gym. You know, it's kind of like finding a new calendar every 3 years that works for you. I needed a new routine to work out and just was on a whim, signed up for a crazy dance class. And, you know, I'm on my third public performance with these ladies. They're awesome.
Really? I don't think I knew
Yeah.
that. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my outside of the box life right there.
And I just started listening to Big Magic, I think it's called.
Oh, that's on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just started it today, and in the first like chapter, she was talking about the story of I don't know if it was her or a friend who just decided to sign up for ice skating lessons, and she was like in her like 40s,
Nice.
and she was taking like this class with these like 9-year-old kids, and she just got over like the which is like fun in and of itself, and she just got over the idea that it has to be for a reason. She's just doing it because she wants to do it, and that's where you know. I used to think that I would do music professionally.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, went to grad school and this led to that. And here we are today. And, I want to do music just to do music. Like I don't have goals about it. I just want to do it
Yeah.
because like it fills me up. And it's so that the idea of just like, of play just to play, to me is really, really important. And so that's, as I'm doing this more and more, that's as I peel back my own layers of crap, and as I continue to do, that's what I've been discovering, that like we make this so much harder on ourselves than than it needs to be.
Oh, absolutely.
But I
Like,
also think that we kind of have to sort of self-discover that. What do you
I think
think?
you're right. Oh, I think you're so right about that. Like, dancing, I used to tell myself, oh, I'm not a dancer. I can dance like on a dance floor. If there's music playing, I'll dance with people, but I'm not a dancer. And this, just going out on a limb and trying something new. I didn't know a single soul at this place. I didn't care. That way, if I screwed up, nobody was there to go, oh, I'm telling everybody. So there's that negative voice in my head of, oh, you can't screw up in front of everybody. And what I found was really, it ended up being a sisterhood of primarily ADHD people. Um, but just creative minds who were there. There are people in my classes from all age, all walks of life, all forms of professions, all sizes, shapes, colors. I mean, it's just the most diverse group of people you'll ever meet, and you're accepted like that. It's my local tribe, if you will. And I love these people. And they make me feel like I'm an amazing dancer, even when I look ridiculous.
The other thing that kind of came to mind as I'm imagining you like doing this, being this dance troupe, is I've always had this also desire to like be in a theater group. Like I just think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
But we talk about those kind of creativity scars that Brené Brown talks about. And I auditioned, remember, for my I think it was my high school was the variety show, and I picked an absurd thing to audition to. It was like, I don't know why someone didn't tell me. You should probably think of something else to do. I stood there on the stage and sang "Cats in the Cradle," and I don't even have that great of a voice.
That's a hard song.
I think back and I'm like, ooh, that's like that's like cringeworthy, embarrassing. But I think to myself now, it's like I don't give a crap what people think, to a degree. But when I'm out there playing and I'm out there being spontaneous, like that energizes me. And so, so I've had these interests in improv and just the idea of being in a theater group, to me, like just a local theater group, nothing that's
right.
like extravagant by any means, sounds really fun to me.
So what's holding you back, Eric?
I have no idea. I think this is definitely one of those thoughts that like comes and goes, but hasn't stuck around in a really like strong sense. It's just like that passing thought. I'm like, oh, that's an idea. And then it goes and I don't really think about it. But now that I've hit record, this is going to be out there into the world.
That's right. It's out there.
They come back to haunt me when people email me and say, so have you found the theater group yet?
It could be cool.
I think it'd be awesome. I think
It would be really awesome.
it'd be a lot of fun.
For me, it would be absolutely terrifying, but it would be a great way to jump outside the box.
Or to be like in an a cappella group. I mean, again, I'm not that great of a singer. I mean, I could sort of sing on keys, sort of most of the time. I have no formal training in this. So, but I think fun is, I mean, I have to do things that are fun, and I consider this fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
yeah.
I'm not good with the boring.
I don't know that necessarily anybody really is good with the boring.
But it seems that people outside of our tribe, Kate, are able to do it. And that's where we get the we carry around this big pile of should.
Yes.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
That's
good. I should be able to do this. I should be able to do that. It's like people, without ADHD say, all right, I got to sit down and do this filing because it'll feel really good when I get it done. Like, I don't really have that sense of like, it feels great. I'm like, I'm glad I'm done. All right, now what's next?
Yeah.
It's barely even a little oomph of a feeling. It's just like, it's meh.
I hate filing. Filing is the bane of my existence.
I got to tell you, doing the adult study hall it's one of the, in my opinion, as far as something that I've done for my business, was one of the most brilliant self-serving things I've ever done, because that helps me do my filing. If it weren't for adult study hall, my papers that I would need to file would be like just out of control big.
That makes sense, because mine got out of control big after our group stopped.
It's like, is that why that pile was there?
Yeah.
And looking at so I'm assuming that where we're doing this now is in your home office.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, from the looks of it looks fairly organized. I mean, you have these two nice bookshelves on either side of you. These gray, nice looking bins that are like one on each shelf. Like it has a somewhat of a flow of some feng shui. There's some laundry there on the side, it looks like. But besides that,
I hope not.
But it looks good.
This is the work of Thanksgiving. So I put on some music and I set a timer and was like, all right, my job is to clean off this one surface. I had to break it down to like 6 different areas. I only tackled 3 because it was exhaustive. And I had just piles and piles of papers. Because the holidays come and people come over and you're like, oh crap, where am I going to put this? And it all gets thrown in my office. And then, of course, I come in and I feel like I can't work because I'm under piles and piles of true crap, not virtual,
in your head crap. Yeah.
In my head crap. But then it gets in my head like, I can't do it. There's so much I have to do here. And I have to clean it. I need clean surfaces.
Do you remember Pat from Saturday Night Live?
Oh,
that's what he just reminded me of when he did it. Like,
I'm Pat. Oh.
Those are my favorite characters.
I loved Pat.
They're very kind of ahead of their time. It's like featuring an androgynous character on the show.
I know. They were very ahead of their times. Now it would be so passé.
Okay. So, where are we going with this, Kate?
I know. Where are we going with this?
All right. So tell us a little bit of your backstory.
So I have a family of 5. I have 3 boys, all teenagers now, 13, 15, and 17. And 2 of the 3 are formally diagnosed with ADHD. And we like to joke that my youngest is the only neurotypical in the bunch, although I'm not so sure anymore. He's more like me in terms of school. He creates his own structure, book work. It works. But they've kind of shifted the way they teach now in our area. So everything's all about interest. And now that can actually go out and seek what he's interested about, I hear a lot more complaints about what's boring. And I'm noticing he's like pushing stuff off, not because he can't do it, but just because it's not interesting anymore. And I'm thinking, like, oh, darn it. I thought we had a good one here. Although he's a great kid. If anything, he's my gifted, everything's easy academically. So we told him we needed one of those at the end because
it's a lot of pressure for him then.
It is a little bit of pressure for him, although we just kind of joke about it. The boys, my older two, call him the smart one, which is kind of,
that's so sad. Yeah.
It makes me sad. So then, of course, the mom and me has to come back and say, everybody's smart in their own way, which they are. And my oldest is a he's socially so ahead of his time. He's like an old man in terms of his wisdom. So, the middle school, he was above middle school. He thought it was stupid, all this, kitschy, crap competition and cliques. He was above it. Oh, this is so, I don't care about these things, Mom. And as a result, everybody wanted to be his friend because he was nice to everybody. He didn't really care. But his teachers have always said he's so very, aware of everyone's feelings, and he's a rule follower, or at least he used to be. And, so he kind of follows within the box. He needs a box. Structure is his friend, and he realizes that. So like right now he's looking at going to military school.
Wow. Because
it will give him structure.
How are you feeling about that?
I mean, he could do it. I don't know. I have mixed feelings because I think the structure could be good. I'm a military brat anyway, so I'm familiar with, my dad was in the Army. And I think that probably helped me survive life in general because we moved every 3 years. And so I had to adjust to something new every 3 years. This is the first time in my life I've lived anywhere longer than 3 years. We've been in, Charlottesville, Virginia for 20 years now, which is crazy.
Wow.
So yeah. And then my middle guy he is your typical combined type. You never know what you're getting. He's like a box of chocolates. You don't know what you're getting when you wake up, and it depends on how he's been eating. Has he exercised? Did he sleep well? Although like me, he's go, 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 go. And his head hits the pillow and he's out like a light. But he's an adventurer. He's actually the one that started this journey when he was 3. So when he was 3, we kind of knew, one of these kids is doing his own thing. That was my child. And
one of these things is not like the other.
Everybody kept saying, oh, he's just 3. And we went to our, Christmas pageant at preschool, and we're looking at all the shepherds. He was a shepherd that year, and he's bouncing back and forth, touching everybody and spinning in circles and, trying to basically do anything to move without being too obnoxious so that he could maintain his position. And my husband and I kind of looked at each other like, this is not just 3. There's something else going on here. And he got diagnosed that year with sensory integration dysfunction. And, so we started down that road. And of course, if you go down that road at the time, so that was 12 years ago, that at the time it was, well, don't let anybody diagnose your child as ADHD because they're two very different things. And so I, struggled a little bit with that, but I was like, if he's going to have a label, I want it to be whatever the right label is so we understand everything fully. So I was one of those voracious reader moms who would, had a list, that was 10 books tall that I was constantly gleaning information from. And so when he was in elementary school, we started with those letters that, as a CHAD peer-to-peer educator, one of those things you tell your parents is, let your teachers know who they're getting. It's such a huge advantage for your child and the classroom as a whole if they know, what kind of individuals coming into their classroom, what helps them thrive, what they might struggle with. So I, started with those letters and said, hey, this is Stuart. We now call it the Stuart Manual because he's in high school. So we've got more complexity in it. But, it used to be this, if you notice him bumping and crashing, maybe you want to have him go walk to the principal's office to take something to the principal. And now it's like, just have him do a lap around the building.
And that helps.
For him, it really, he just needs to kind of get out and recenter. Sitting, I don't think anybody in a neurotypical fashion, if you will, can truly understand how difficult it is for somebody with attention issues to sit their rear end in a chair for 90 minutes. I mean, it's painful enough if you don't have ADHD, and to sit there and actually be expected to attend. And if you don't even like the subject, it's a 1,000 times worse.
I mean, it's so interesting, though, Kate, when we think about the variability in ADHD, because I have no problem sitting my butt in this chair for, hours without getting up. And sometimes I forget, like, oh, man, I haven't gotten up in like 4 hours.
I know.
And then I get up and I'm like, I can't move. I'm like, oh, God. It's I need to have that, like, that chair that was set on a timer that will, like, kick you out after, like, every hour, where it's...
Oh, my gosh. That's a cool chair. That's one gadget you didn't need to tell me about. I sit on a chair that's actually an exercise ball because I like the movement, and I
would love to get one of those. The other chair that I've, I first saw at a couple of the CHAD conferences, they weren't there this year, though, was Verrier has these really cool stools that have like a curved bottom.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, it's really cool because it's like they're comfortable, but yet you have to move, you have to use your own balance. You can't just like,
Oh, yeah. It's like a wobble board.
Yeah, but they're like $400+. And I'm like, that's a lot of money for a stool.
Yeah, we have a lot of them in our school right now. Our schools have just gone through this massive renovation upgrades in a lot of their media centers.
Mm-hmm.
And they have implemented differentiated seating and all sorts of different areas that you can change at a moment's notice to repartition things. And our middle school that my youngest is at just added those wobble stools. And of course, we had a PTO meeting a couple weeks ago, and I walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I was like, I have to sit on one of those. I almost fell over. But
and then all the other parents are like, who let Kate in the room?
I know. Why is she so excited about that? I was just excited to see him finally in something other than elementary school because, I think it's much more common, at least in where my kids go to school, to see that differentiation on an elementary level because it's socially acceptable for kids to be wobbly and need to move and get up. There's less of a stigma and it's not quite as...
I've also heard, I've never been there, but if you go to the headquarters at Google, it also looks like that. Where you have people on bouncy chairs and, they have ping pong tables, right outside the work areas because they understand from a neurological level the importance of play.
Yeah, which is huge. It's absolutely huge.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, you had mentioned to me something about staying curious. It's just something that you do as kind of a perspective of your coaching, just being a curious person. I want to talk a little bit more about your family, about calendars, and and we may or may not get to that and other stuff because that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
I will be right back. If you hate shopping as much as I do, and you love shopping on Amazon as much as I do, support this podcast by doing all your holiday shopping on Amazon, but start at ADHDrewired.com. There's an Amazon search portal there that's on the right side of the page, just a little bit down the way. Go there, you'll get to the same Amazon you were used to, and a small percentage of your purchase will go to support this podcast. And to all my Jewish listeners out there, Hanukkah's early this year. It starts sundown, December 6th. That'll be here before you know it. Do your shopping on Amazon, but start at ADHDrewired.com. Thank you so much.
Audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired for your free download. Trial.com/ADHD Rewired. Trial.com/ADHD Rewired. Go to audibletrial.com/ADHD Rewired for your free audiobook download.
With Hanukkah and Christmas just around the corner, New Year's resolutions will be set. Give yourself the gift of ADHD Rewired Coaching and Accountability Group. We start at the end of January. If you are interested, early registration has started. Schedule a call with me. Go to coachingrewired.com. Again, that is coachingrewired.com, and schedule your free 20-minute consultation and screening call with me today. Again, that's coachingrewired.com, and prepare to get your ADHD rewired. The ADHD nerd will not be featured on this week's episode due to a lack of planning. Hopefully, we'll get Ryan back on next week. If you want to check out his blog in the meantime, go to theadhdnerd.com. We are back, and right during the break, I was talking with Kate, and she told me or reminded me about something that she called a marriage saving strategy. And I said, we just got to start right there. So go ahead and tell us about that.
So, we have 3 really busy kids, and I'm a busy person and my husband's a busy person. So as the kids get older, we're trying to manage our calendars can get a little difficult. And, I'm kind of the keeper of the calendar, natural, a stereotypical mom role, I guess. I'm the one that knows where everybody's supposed to be and what carpool they're going with, et cetera. And, I would tell my husband verbally what was going on. Hey, we need to be here, or hey, I've got an appointment, so I can't take the kids. It's your turn, or whatever the scenario is.
And let me guess, he went, okay.
Yeah,
and it went into the brain and came right back out, like it never stuck around at all.
Yeah, it's like it just went straight through. He acknowledged it. It wasn't important to him at the time, or it wasn't interesting enough for him to keep in his brain. Maybe he wasn't really, quite frankly, listening actively. And then it would come back to an argument in the last minute. Well, you're picking up the kid, right? No, I'm not picking up the kid. I told you I had an appointment. And so then he'd, roll his eyes or whatever. We'd start arguments about who said what, who told somebody what. So at one point I just looked at him and I said, that's it. We're meshing everybody's calendars together. So everyone has their own calendar that we have merged, and it's color coded, which makes me happy because I love color coding. And
what color are you?
I am purple because purple is mystical.
Ooh. And what's your husband?
Mike is blue because that is pretty much what he wears on a daily basis.
Okay. And so you have different colors for the kids, and
yeah, everybody's based on kind of their favorite color. So my youngest is red, and my middle guy is green, and my oldest is also blue, but a different shade.
Different shade.
Yeah.
So there's no more. I told you. Right?
Yeah. Now it became this massive reconditioning, if you will. So we both agree that verbal communication was not working with us, because if somebody wasn't actively listening and we didn't put it in our own specific calendar, it didn't work so well. So we created, the color coded calendar so that at a glance you could see who's got what on any given day. And there is no more arguing. Did you put it in the calendar? And if it's in the calendar, then it's kind of like, written law. That's what's going on.
How long have you had this going on for?
So we did this about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. We've kind of morphed it as we've needed to. So initially the kids just had one calendar, and then now that they're, we've got 2 in high school and 1 in middle school at the end of middle school. So they all play travel sports. They all have more intensive calendars. And we realized that we had to split the calendar. So there's no more kid calendar. Now it's one for each of us, which is fantastic.
And so what calendar system do you use?
We use Google right now. Okay. And that's the only one. That's what we started with, because Mike and I were both in the PC world at the time because we were working in business. And the kids hadn't really gotten a computer or gotten to the stage in school where they were needing computers. Now I've got 2 on Macs, one that has it has a stink pad. That's what we call it.
A stink pad?
It's a Lenovo ThinkPad. Used to be the IBM ThinkPad years and years ago.
Okay.
But it's doled out by the public schools. Everybody has, they have a 1-to-1 technology initiative. So he's got a ThinkPad, and it has less firepower than his than his notebook and pad does. So he's like, this is pretty bad. It does what it's supposed to do, though.
Okay. So use Google, Google Calendar. What was the process of setting it up like?
It was actually really, really simple.
Okay.
So we just made sure everybody had an email address attached to their specific calendars. And Google made it pretty simple. So you could actually just, hit a share button, I think is what it was, share a calendar. And it kind of sends an invite to somebody and they accept. And now everybody can see whatever. You can decide whether or not you want them to see all the details of your calendar, or if they just want to know that you have something. I'm kind of a full disclosure in, our relationship. We're like, we don't care. You could see whatever's on there. So, and we can add things to each other's calendars if we need to. The only thing that we can't do is delete something. I can't delete off of Mike's and vice versa for him.
Very smart. Very smart. I had a while back, my son was clearly playing with my wife's phone. And all of a sudden I see these appointments showing up labeled like KM3, 7, 10, like, it's like, oh no. Cause like I see like that, I'm like, that's like my calendar, just like my lifeline. And it's like, and my son is messing with the calendar. So, I changed some of the settings on that. So we could.
A couple gibberish appointments in there.
Yeah. And now, it's so funny. So I, sometimes I show him things like on my phone and I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't show him that. So I showed him because he loves numbers. He's like obsessed with numbers. So he's 4 years old. And so now his thing is he asks Siri, show me pictures of the number 1. Show me pictures of the number 2. Show me pictures of the number 3. Say, oh God.
Oh my gosh. What's the one where you ask Siri, what is it? 0 divided by 0 is, or something like that? And she comes back with a funny answer.
Well, he actually asked Siri, what's your favorite number? And it was really funny. Siri responded with, I'm quite fond of 0s and 1s.
That's cute.
Whenever I like hear those kinds of things that are programmed in them, like I just could imagine what was the actual like programming meeting like when they came up with, all right, what kinds of things do you think people are going to ask? Like that would be the perfect like group of like ADHD people who were just like sitting in this like room of like all thinking of the most random things you could think of.
And I don't know. I don't have an iPhone, but my kids do. And they have friends who have pissed Siri off to the point where she shut down. And I laughed out loud.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I think one of them said, "You suck, Siri." And Siri just shut the phone off. And I mean, they could turn it back on, but clearly it was it was kind of like your mother saying, "That's unacceptable," and giving you the stare. And
that is awesome.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
That is great. Outsourcing guilt? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, so a little social training. I don't know. Yeah. Huh.
Interesting. Have you seen some of these? There's some technologies that are kind of emerging that is able to, using your camera, it can actually track what you're feeling, like, and the strength that you're feeling it. I mean, I think there was a TED Talk actually about this, and so it has a lot of clinical applications, especially in the realm of autism and. But it's just really, really fascinating for all kinds of reasons. Like there was one of the applications was, so you're on social media and you're about to post something and it sees that you're like angry, or it's like, are you sure you want to post this? Like, it's just great. I mean, it's like a really kind of a fluid, dynamic, user responses to like how we're actually feeling.
That's pretty wild.
And, I mean, because, I should see if I can contact Paul Ekman, who's I don't know if you're familiar with his work. He's the guy that studied out like the micro expressions, and developed this called the facial action coding system, which is a really heavy body of work, but really it dissects all the muscle groups in the face and really can pinpoint the physiological features of facial responses and emotions. To me, it's like fascinating. I about 2 years ago, I got really into this study. I should have him on the show though. I think he would be.
You should.
Yeah,
That would
'cause I
be
think that'd be really.
fantastic.
Because he was the scientific consultant on the show. There was a show for on a couple of years on Fox called "Lie to Me."
Hmm.
Have you ever seen that?
I think I saw maybe one episode, but yeah, it pretty
Yeah, it's pretty good, and
compelling.
yeah, it's pretty good. Um, so let me ask you this: as we're getting kind of closer towards let's I'll borrow a line from Car Talk, the third half of the show, and it was so funny because it didn't dawn on me until like a year of listening to that show. Third half, oh, I get it. Yes, I just admitted that. I think it's funny when like there was an obvious joke that like it takes like you didn't realize. Then I think that's funny.
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about kind of some of the things that you learned from being in the coaching group.
Okay. So I loved the coaching group. The coaching group for me, I knew that the summer was going to be crazy because, like, as I said, my kids are in travel sports, which means any sort of business planning in my life usually goes out the door because I'm pulled in a million different directions. And I am really good at talking myself out of, meeting goals. So, I'll put that off till tomorrow, or I've got plenty of time, whatever it is. I'm a time optimist. And, and I knew I really needed a group to help me be a little more thoughtful about what I was doing this past summer and also be a little more reflective and accountable. So for me, what I got out of the group was really understanding just, like we were saying at the beginning of the podcast, that power of saying no. I am a chronic volunteer. So I like to say yes to lots of interesting things. And a lot of times it gets me into trouble. So this summer, being able to look at that list of all the things I had on my plate was pretty overwhelming when I initially created that list. We did a mind map and looked at everything we had going on. And I thought, oh my gosh, how do you even sleep? There was no time for sleep when we had to break it down for things we could do. And I thought, yeah, okay. It was actually really helpful, therapeutic even to sit and just slash things. Is that really important? Nope. Am I going to get that done this summer? Nope. And be okay with it. So to sit and be okay and there's no guilt of I should be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It was really more the realization of what's more meaningful for me. And what do I need to cut out? And then to actually have to state publicly what I was going to do for the week and know that at the end of the week, I had to come clean with what really happened was pretty motivating. And it actually got me to a point where I could really streamline what was accomplishable in a week's time. Look at my calendar. What can I really feasibly do? Yes, I want to go accomplish 10 things, but is that really going to happen? Probably not. So, trying to pick those top 3, or even some weeks it was just 2. I need 2 things. And the third one's going to be a bonus. So, and that's kind of how I would lay it out. And then if I hit that third mark and, it was like, I don't know, it was like chocolate sauce on a Sunday, I did it. And then, you get all these, yay, good job, virtual pats on the back from your fellow teammates, if you will. So it was this great tribe during the summer where if something failed, okay, so it failed. Not a big deal. Pick yourself back up and move on. And the study hall, I found I've actually kind of implemented my own study halls as a result. So I love your catchphrase of doing the important stuff, important but boring, because let's face it, we all have a lot of important but boring things we've got to do. And so I definitely have started regularly setting aside at least 2 hours a week where I'm doing important things.
Are you doing that with members of the coaching group?
Occasionally I'll do it with other members of the group, or I've even pulled in other people outside of the group and said, hey, I need a body double. I just need somebody that's going to help me be accountable. Will you hop on and pay your bills for an hour or something? And so yeah, it's really worked. And then, just having somebody there, even if I'm not even talking to them, but knowing that they're going to be there without judgment. I think that's the other thing. So my task might be to clean off my desk and not get distracted within that hour. And I may get the desk all cleaned off. I may not, but it really, at the end of the day or at the end of that hour, if I'm looking at somebody like we are now, I can say, okay, well, I got 3/4 of it done. That was great. And then, the other person on the other end of the screen says, that's great. All right, cool. So, what's your plan for the rest of it? But there's no, if it was me, I could have done that. I can't believe you didn't finish it. It's just the voice I tell myself in my head, you should have gotten through it.
We're storytellers.
Yeah.
Sometimes the stories are, a bunch of BS.
You have to, I think that for me is probably what I loved most when I learned about coaching, was just the realization of how many stories people tell themselves, and really looking at whether or not they're true, and not really noticing or realizing in the moment that you're listening to that story that plays over and over in your head that it's all crap.
Yeah. Oh, it's and you can't change the story if you're not listening to the story.
Yes.
And once you understand the storyline, the great thing is that you and I and everyone listening, we're the authors, we're the editors. We are the ones that can say, you know what? I don't really like this storyline. I'm going to change it.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea. I could throw the whole darn book out.
Yeah.
Screw it. I'm starting over.
I'm closing up shop. I'm hitting the road, starting the bands.
I'm done.
I totally had a thought, and then I just lost it because my brain just went into like the whole idea of stories, and then I was imagining this stage of people, and my brain just went somewhere when I'm trying to bring it back down.
Fun and creative.
Yeah,
it went somewhere fun
yeah,
and creative.
It did go fun and creative. So, Kate, let me ask you this. I know that we are getting kind of near the end of our time. What are, if someone can have a takeaway from our conversation, either just from your own lived experience personally, or you as a coach, what do you want people to know? Like, what do you think the most important thing that people understand is?
Life is, I think, the thing that if I could get everybody in the world to take something positive away from this, it would really just be that everybody has their own story. Here we go back to stories again. But it is what you make it, and it doesn't have to conform to what you think the rest of the world wants it to look like. And once you can free yourself of that burden, because that really is just such a burden to feel like you have to live under whatever or inside of whatever box, you're telling yourself exists. Really just kind of living it for what's true to you. I think that's, in the end, that's what makes life fun. That's where the play comes in. And that's where the understanding comes in. And, that's what I love.
I think if you do that, you will certainly get your ADHD rewired.
Amen.
Kate, tell everyone where they could reach you.
So if you want to reach me, you can find me on my website at coachingcville.com. I'm also on Facebook. Or you can email me, info@coachingcville.com.
Spell that out real quick.
info, coachingcville.com.
I should have clarified. I really just meant spell it Seville. I was like, wait, what are you spelling?
You said spell it.
You are right. And so we will, as always, all the links will be in the show notes on the website. So, Kate, thank you so much for spending this time with with me. And I think we're going to have you and Doug Harris and possibly some other people back as a group. We're going to maybe do this experiment in maybe a few weeks.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, Kate, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eric.
You got it. Thank you for listening to another episode of ADHD Rewired. And if you're new to the show, welcome to ADHD Rewired. We are more than just a podcast. We are a community focused on learning, growing, and connection. You can see a full outline of this and all other episodes with all the links and other resources mentioned during this interview at ADHDrewired.com. Help support this podcast by checking out my sponsors. I use Zoom video conferencing nearly every day, and so can you. Go free or go pro. But please, go to erictibbers.com/Zoom so they know that I sent you. And you can get a free audiobook from Audible at erictibbers.com/Audible. And next time you shop Amazon, use the Amazon search portal at ADHDrewired.com. A small percentage of your purchase will go to support this show, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. You can also support this podcast by leaving an honest rating and review in iTunes or Stitcher. This really helps other people find this show. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Don't just be a passive listener, be an active member of the ADHD Rewired community. We are on Facebook. You can like our page, but please submit your request to join our free and growing community. And don't forget to check your other inbox because I screen everybody before they come into our community.
Looking for a coach? If you're still listening at this point and you answered yes, come to my website at ADHDrewired.com and schedule your free 20-minute consultation, or call me at 224-993-9450. Is your school, business, or organization hiring speakers? I provide fun and engaging presentations full of practical solutions that both educate and entertain. Hire me for your next professional development day or corporate training event. Go to ADHDrewired.com/talks. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next week.